Where do I begin? Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another video. I wanted to talk to you guys about something, specifically my Audi TT RS and where it's been for the past 6 months. I haven't been posting about it on my channel or driving it for that matter. Well, it all started back in 2022 when I bought my dream car, or at least I thought I was buying my dream car. It is unloaded now and I am the proud owner of a 2021 TTRS Stage 3 build. I cannot believe this, guys. This is crazy. In this video, for the protection of the person that sold me the vehicle, I'm not going to specify who he is. So for the sake of the video, we're just going to refer to him as random. So I found this car on Facebook Marketplace and I was looking at Audi TTRSs for a while now. My goal was to buy this car as my dream car and I wanted to make it a stage 3 build. So when I found one on Facebook Marketplace in the exact spec and model that I wanted, I got excited. Nardo gray with a red interior, stage 3 build, and a huge carbon fiber wing, this thing looked sick. And that's when I knew I had to have it. The seller was listing the car well above MSRP with 8,000 miles. And with all the extra mods that were done to the car in the reputable shop that did all the mods, it seemed like a pretty good deal to me. So I offered the seller a price and he immediately took it. Now this should have been a red flag to me right off the bat because I didn't lowball him, but I did offer a good $10,000 less than what he was asking for. Now us car guys have dreamt of the car that we wanted someday. That excitement, the thrill of longing for something that's out of your reach or unobtainable. There's just something about imagining yourself finally succeeding and ending up at your goal. Well, I let my emotions get the best of me and I never even test drove the vehicle. I was saying to myself, I trust this guy and all the parts on the car are quality. And the shop that put them on has a good reputation. I mean, so what could go wrong? But this was the exact moment that I wasn't walking into my dream, but rather a nightmare. So fast forward to the day that my car shows up to my house on a delivery truck. My emotions were high and this actually ended up being the second video on my YouTube channel. This car gave me the drive to follow my passion with video creation and sharing it with the world through YouTube. As the guys pull it off the trailer, I was jaw dropped on how the gray and the red interior went together so well. Is this really my car? As I look at my new purchase of my dream Audi TTRS, I was filled with excitement and I couldn't wait to drive the car. This is absolutely insane, guys. Like, this is crazy. It's like a dream come true. I cannot believe this is actually happening. So sick. But this was the moment that stuff started to get weird. As I got in the car for the first time and went to go pull it into my driveway, I noticed that the oil light was on. So naturally, I just went ahead and checked the oil level. And to my surprise, it was a whole 1.5 quart low. And I'm thinking to myself, this is weird. I mean, if I was selling a car, I'm pretty sure that I would check the oil level, make sure everything's topped off and good to go. But nevertheless, I'm glad that I checked the oil before I ever drove it. Random, which remember that's the seller, told me that he never noticed the oil light, but it was on as soon as I started the car for the first time. Random also told me that the exterior was immaculate, which was not the case. I found several scratches and chips in the paint. I certainly wouldn't be using the word immaculate if I was selling the car. So as I began to top off the oil, I noticed that one of the intake tubes was completely disconnected, allowing air to escape the intake system. And the engine cover mounting brackets were broken, so as soon as I opened up the hood, the engine cover was sitting sideways on the motor. So I tried to secure the engine cover the best that I could and just ignored the other issues. But in my head, I felt like we were off to a very bad start. I already have gone from super excited to confused and a little bit worried. So later that day, I ended up going on my first drive in the car. So I was babying the car for most of the day, just taking time to get used to it when I finally thought it was ready to rip on the car and see what it's capable of. What? The first acceleration was completely breathtaking, giving me the laughter and excitement that I was expecting. The next day, I ended up surprising my friends with my new car, and they loved it. I even took a couple of them for a ride to see their reaction, which was great. then all of a sudden, this happens.
Drive system malfunction. So as you can see here, I have a check engine light now.
I get a check engine light stating that there's a drive system malfunction. And this is the part where all my issues began to take place. Mind you that we're on the second day now, and I've only put about 60 to 100 miles on the car. So now the car is in limp mode, and I'm worried out of my mind at this point. And I'm thinking that the car is severely damaged or something. So I reach out to Random and I ask him, hey, what the heck is going on with this car? He said, I have no idea what you're talking about. This never happened to me. And after a couple of days of not driving the car, I finally get it out of limp mode and began driving the car normally. But then I decided to try to accelerate again because that's exactly why I bought the car, to rip on it. Random also told me that the car has 800 horsepower, and to me, it did feel like all of 800 horsepower. So after I began to rip on the car again, it started to hesitate and shake like it was starving for fuel. And he had paperwork that the fuel pump was a brushless pump from iRose Motorsports, so I figured that it couldn't be that. But here we are again, in limp mode on day number 5 for the second time. Now at this point, I'm not believing Random about not knowing about these issues, because I haven't done anything but drive the car. After I get home, I start looking under the hood to see if there's anything unusual that I could find. And what I found was shocking.
But we have this coupler right here that's completely ripped.
The coupler from the intake tube to the turbo was completely ripped, as you can see here.
But I knew something was wrong, and I went back there and that whole thing is blown out,
allowing air to escape yet again and potentially sucking a big piece of rubber into the turbo, and we all know what that means. Bye-bye turbo. But thankfully I caught this in time and replaced that rubber hose with a new silicone hose before any more issues arose. So I took my car out after replacing this, thinking that surely this was the cause of all the hesitation under acceleration. I mean, it would make sense, all the air was escaping, right? Wrong. It didn't change a thing. So I reach out to Random again and I start to call him out on the low oil, engine cover, scratches, ripped intake tube and coupler, and the fact that the car kept going into limp mode. He ended up denying ever knowing anything and started to get angry, which is a good sign that somebody's lying. Alright, whatever. So now I guess I'm on my own and bought somebody's very expensive problem. I mean, it's my fault. I saw the red flags, but I let my emotion take over. So the real question is, now what? And also, why would someone else do this to someone knowing that they're going to create a mess in someone else's life? Seems pretty selfish to me, but anyway. So the car was a little bit below half tank at this point, so I went to go fill it up with some more E85 because that's what I was told that the car was tuned for. And what do you know? After I filled up the tank to full, I noticed that I was able to rip on the car again without it hesitating. That's weird. So now I'm really confused. And sure enough, after the car got down to about halfway in the fuel tank, it started hesitating again. So at least now at this point, I know that if I keep the fuel level above half a tank, I can at least drive the car. So that's exactly what I did for the next 6 months. Now I don't know exactly where to throw this part into this video, but whenever I did my first oil change, and when I went to take out the oil filter, there was no oil filter in the housing. I mean, I have so many questions and concerns at this point. What have I really got myself into? So in the meantime, I was looking for a high performance shop that knew how to work on a Daza motor and also has experience with working on highly tuned ones especially, because we all know that you can't just take a car like this to the Audi dealership. The technicians' heads would start to spin and they would pretty much kick you out of the dealership. So this was the hard part. Turns out I couldn't find anyone. Then I stumbled upon a shop that was able to take a look at it. They were very helpful and ended up fixing a bad sensor along with a couple other problems. So they finally were able to take a look at the fuel system, but after spending thousands of dollars, there still wasn't a solution to my problem. The car was still hesitating. So now, to recap at this point, I'm a year into owning my dream car that drives like garbage and makes me anxious every time I get in it. Do I trade it in? What dealer would even take a car like this? Do I sell it? But who would buy it? Now I know how Random felt. He must have just wanted to get this car out from under his feet and recoup some money that he lost. cost. So after almost completely giving up, I decided to keep looking around for another shop. There has to be somebody out there that can fix this. And then I found Grade A Garage. I actually ended up taking my GTI there to get dynoed because I was always curious how much horsepower that car made because it is stage 3. I heard about this place from a friend, but isn't that usually how it always goes anyway? The dyno ended up going well, so I decided to take my TTRS there because in my mind, I figured it would just be better to know how much horsepower it made if it did come to the time where I needed to sell it. Now, in order to get the car dynoed properly, I knew I had to keep it above half a tank. As I went into Grade A Garage for the first time, I was really relieved to see all of the high performance vehicles that they were working on. It gave me a little bit of confidence. So now I get there with my TTRS and do my first 2 pulls, which seemed to go well. It hit 600 horsepower, which was pretty good, but I also thought that was weird because Random told me it should be doing 800. But now at this point, I'm taking everything that Random says with a grain of salt. So then we did the 3rd dyno pull, and then this happened. So we didn't know exactly what happened at that point, but I ended up scheduling an appointment so that we could get it looked at. The owner, Matt, assured me that he would get everything figured out, which actually gave me a lot of confidence and also helped me not feel so discouraged about buying my nightmare of a supercar killer. So after letting my car sit in my garage for the next 3 months, my appointment finally came around. It also spoke volumes knowing that his shop was really busy. About a week later, after looking at my car, Matt gave me a call with some good news. He said, "Hey, the car's all good to go." This was music to my ears. Could this really be? After a year and 3 months, could my nightmare really be over? The car ended up needing spark plugs, a retune, and a new ethanol kit. Turns out the current ethanol kit on the car was wrong. Go figure. So this pretty much means that that car was never going to run right unless this problem was found. And this also means that Random was probably experiencing these problems before he sold it. So after getting new spark plugs, a tune, and an ethanol kit, the car ended up making 674 wheel horsepower on the dyno, and Matt actually took me for a ride in my own car when I went to pick it up, and he scared the living heck out of me in my own car. Now, I personally never felt the car ride that strong or that fast. He even was ripping on the car when it was less than half a tank of gas, and there was no hesitation. In this moment, I felt a lot of emotion. It felt like my worry was starting to go away. I was feeling a relief of all the misery that I was experiencing last year. Being car guys, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this feeling, but the question still sits. Do I sell the car now or do I keep it and enjoy it? This is actually a hard question to answer because this was my dream car and especially a stage 3 build that's making around 700 wheel horsepower. But on the other hand, that excitement was supposed to be with me the whole time. But for some reason, it just feels different now. Now I know that the car is fixed and it's running better than ever, but through the last year of ownership, I saw that car sit around a lot more than I drove it. And through that last year, I also looked at it through the lens of, I don't know if this car will ever run right, and I'm stuck with it. All of those bad thoughts and emotions have seemed to tamper with the way that I actually look at the car now. Even though that it's fixed, it's hard to get out of my head. I don't know if I'll ever be able to enjoy this car the way that I intended to. It's been a love-hate relationship, and like most people say, it's complicated. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next, so I'm gonna leave this video open-ended. The next chapter is to be determined. I felt like my OG followers on this channel deserve to know what really happened. So the moral of the story is to not buy a car sight unseen. Well, that's it for today's video. I would really appreciate a like and subscribe for more content. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.